Addiction is at the opposite end of a spectrum to fitness, and they tend to fight each other when we strive heavily toward one. The other will then begin to interfere with our efforts. And today I'd like to talk about a little bit on alcohol and a number of other addictions. Alcohol does a number of things to the human body. It lowers the inhibitions. So if I set out to have one or two social drinks, that may easily become 3 or 4 or more. So plan well and have a think about how you might strategize to minimize the number of alcoholic drinks that you may have on a social occasion. The other thing that it does is it removes the blood fats from the blood and takes that fat content into the fat cells. That then makes it very difficult to remove from the body. They accumulate, or fat accumulates, in areas that become stubborn to get rid of. Another thing it does is it atrophies the muscle. So the arms and the legs and the muscle in the body begins to disappear and be replaced with more fat. All of these things are detrimental. Now, I haven't really gone into what goes into today's modern alcohol beverages or drinks. If it were once upon a time and the alcohol were natural, there wouldn't be such a big deal and such a big problem with drinking and consuming alcohol on a regular basis. Another measure that I use as a trainer for alcohol, I ask the question, do you drink in a social environment or do you drink alone? That can give an indicator of how much or how deep that person has progressed along the line toward addiction, as we said earlier. Well, there are other addictions as well, not only alcohol. So you've seen the effects, you've heard the effects of alcohol. It's not easy to shake, and the first thing to tackle would be to admit that there is a problem. Denial, as you know, is the first step in a 10-step program that has been designed, that's world famous, for overcoming addiction. Other addictions are drugs. They will slow reflex time. So will alcohol. So your nervous system is affected, your brain's cognition is also affected with drugs. Reactions become slower. There's a physical dependence and a psychological dependence that is associated with drugs. I've seen a lot of young people and met a lot of young people that have since destroyed their lives in big ways with drugs, especially the modern drugs that don't require importation and they're homemade. You'll hear a lot about these sorts of things in the media, not so much in the gyms where I work and where I train, but in the media you'll see it, and in society you'll see it increasing more and more, and particularly in young people. That's a very tragic and sad thing. Some of the other addictions that are common, that are not so perceived, not recognized as an addiction, is is Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a very addictive phenomenon. So without going too deeply into it, a neurotransmitter is something that our brain produces. There are around about 200 chemical neurotransmitters in our brain. These can be stimulated by electromagnetic frequency or electricity. So that electromagnetic frequency coming from your iPhone, coming from your computer, iPad, TV, satellite dish, router and modem, those devices will definitely, without any shadow of doubt, affect the brain, the hormones, the very DNA of the body, and is addictive. It works predominantly on dopamine in the brain and gives a good feeling. Beyond that one, there's also the new challenges in the world of food addiction. It's not like it has always been. The modern food addiction is a little bit different. Modern food addiction is manipulated food, genetically modified food, preservatives, colorings, additives, flavors, and artificial compounds that are put into the food, corn syrup for instance, to addict deliberately the human organism to these foods. Hard to shake, A lot of these packaged, pre-made, processed foods are very highly addictive wherever you see corn syrup. Unfortunately, again, in this modern phase that we're going through, until we improve, particularly in Australia and the Western world, the food should be labelled, but that label has now become a number that nobody looks up. That also applies to alcohol, which brings us right back to the beginning. So my message today is very short, but keep in mind that addiction to any substance or any Wi-Fi or any other phenomenon, it can be countered with fitness. Try to make a habit of fitness in your life and try to improve the level at which you are at in your particular life at this moment, day by day, small increments at a time. Travel along this road and not that one.